solution. And here's our two speakers, David Čaněk and Chris Wendt. Let me quickly introduce to both of them. David is a founder and CEO of Memsource, a software company providing cloud translation technology based in Prague, Czech Republic. David's professional experience include product management and business development role in software and translation industry. He has delivered numerous of presentations on innovations and trends in the translation industry, including the growing use of MP, post-editing, in cloud translation software. Chris is a graduate from Diplom Informatica from the University of Hamburg, Germany, and spent a decade of software internationalization for Microsoft products, including Windows and IE for Internet Explorer. Since 2005, he's leading the program management team at Microsoft Machine Translation Development Team, responsible for the translation service that's part of the Azure Cognitive Service family. On the way, he also delivered the Bing and Skype translator as well. And now he's leading the group of language service in Azure Cognitive Service family, bringing natural language processing capability to its customer. I welcome you, David and Chris. Now, please, the floor is yours. Go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the introduction. I'll start first, and then David will come in. Why are we in this business? We are removing the language barrier. Our job is to connect people of different languages, allow them to communicate efficiently with each other. That's the motivation of my team, removing the language barrier. The factor 1,000 plays a role in this presentation. Keep that number handy. Why are we doing machine translation? You see this triangle here, price, speed, quality. The old saying is you can get only 2 of those. Of course, we do want all 3 of those. Certainly, MT has a price advantage. It's about a factor 1,000 cheaper than human translation. My example here is if you translate 1 million words at a word rate of 25 cents per word, it costs you $250,000. Microsoft's most expensive machine translation translates that same amount for $280. You would say it is not as good. Right? You are probably right with that. It's not as good as a high quality human translation. How not good it is, we will find out. How do you integrate machine translation into a translation workflow? You start with your original, you machine translate it, you pass it through a human for post-editing. You then have a repository of translations that you are publishing. Of course, you could also take that blue route here and publish it raw. That's the simple view. A little more complex view here. You can use customization to inform the machine translation of the terminology and style that you want to see in your translations, and you can organize that as a continuous workflow to periodically update your machine translation with the translations that you have produced in order to make it more compatible with your terminology and style. Then you can, your published documents, whether that was raw machine translated or human post-edit, you establish some business intelligence that tells you, well, this is not good, there's a mistake, I need to involve the human to fix that. This way you can target your spend on the humans to where it makes the most sense. Of course, you can also use whatever material you have or you have gathered or from an exchange organization, data exchange organization, to customize your machine translation to make it even better. So here's the factor 1,000. There are about 1,000 times more words translated using machines than humans. You can machine translate for about a thousandth of the cost of a human. And I claim it is not 1,000 times worse, the quality of the machine translation. So where are we? Machine translation is an old business, has existed since about 1954. We are here in the state of neural machine translation. Between this and human parity, there are a couple problems to solve. Microsoft and others, we have declared that we have reached human parity in the past on specific test sets with specific terminology. And that was you can do that if you set your conditions right. You can declare that you have reached human parity. You may doubt that. I doubt that as well in many contexts, but it's really not that terribly far away. So where are we? We're getting closer to parity. You can see on the previous graph, the quality increases year over year. For the, I would say, for the most translated languages of the world, about the top 20 language pairs, they translate very well. It falls off fairly sharply after that to being barely useful in the languages that we call low resource languages. What's missing to the true human parity? The knowledge of document context. Most translation systems today are translating sentence by sentence, and that is not taking a lot of context into account. In research, we, and I assume others, have systems that take the whole document context into account. That does a much better job. So I declare this not too far away until we have some more document context. Of course, the systems are missing real-world knowledge, and there's currently no real good way to inject that knowledge into the translation systems. Probably the most significant detractor of publishing raw without any possibility of human review is a non-zero chance of catastrophic mistakes. Automatic translation systems make mistakes that can be very embarrassing to the publisher. That's why you better have a system in place that allows you to quickly react to these mistakes if you do raw machine translation. With an integration into a workflow that allows you to react quickly to these mistakes, you can think about publishing raw MT in more places. Do you really need a high quality human translation for everything, or can you target it to the areas where it is needed most? Employ feedback from business intelligence as well as from your users. Give them opportunity to react to the translation and let you know what is wrong with it. Think of other areas where you can use automatic translation beyond product localization, for instance, in intra-company communication, as well as a feature that is visible to your customers. I want to pass it on to David to talk about the integration into the translation workflow.
Thanks, Chris. Let me share my screen here. So just a sec to set this up. So let me follow up, actually, I think pretty much where Chris left it off. And so machine translation. I remember 10 years. So when Memsource started 10 years ago, and we went to the first conferences in 2012, probably, machine translation was this really controversial topic, and it made me a little bit nervous always to bring it up and hear all kinds of criticism, and that made it fun. But today, it's the MT really, if we're talking about connecting AI to localization and using AI for our work, for making it more efficient, MT really, it has a major role to play. And also MT is really the kind of, you see the dominance of MT in the current translation methods that we see in Memsource. So this is the Memsource data in 2020 up to, I think, yesterday. And so we have raw MT, which actually also includes some translation memory content. So it could be a customer first pre-translate with translation memory, and we had a quick chat about it with Chris yesterday. And then whatever is not available from translation memory is filled with MT, and there's no post editing, neither on the translation memory nor on the MT. So this is the 23%. Then we have 39% where there is MT involved, machine translation involved, probably also translation memory, and there's also post editing involved. And then we have 38%, just about below, and is the first year actually, 2020, where human only, where there is. So this is where there's no MT. So on this translation job we're looking at translation jobs, you could say files. So and the condition for human only is there's no MT. So there's no MT post editing, MT didn't touch it. And so it was only completed using human resources. And actually we checked that humans interacted with it and that there was translation, human translation taking place. So this is the current, landscape that we have. And, going forward, we will see more MT, obviously, as you can expect, because Chris and others are doing a great job, and I'll show some proof of it in the next slide. But we will also see human translation a lot. We'll continue to see it, and I'll try to explain why. We'll see it more on the maybe the marketing content, the trans creation, we could call this, on that end. And we, our customers, and we saw this a few times, tell us, well, we have this, great MT system, everything is working beautifully, but we don't want to convey this transactional experience to our customers. We want to convey what's unique about us, about our brand, and that's something where we need humans involved. And so there's going to be, I think we see this is becoming more and more important. Everyone will be able to build, a system that works, that does the transaction. But how do you rise above the crowd, and messaging and content and localization and creativity will be essential there. However, we will see more MT. We will see more MT in the years to come. The reason is, I think the reason is probably, I would say, certainly one that I think is a clear kind of argument or reason for the rise of MT. It's just getting better. So why not use it if it's getting better? And this is again, I'm showing data that's actually based on added distance. So it's actual added distance data that are in Memsource, data that obviously we have, we can kind of provide in this aggregate way, and share with everyone, because I think it's really interesting data. And here we took what was high quality MT. So in our, imagine 75% translation memory match that you may still need to maybe fix, but it already provides some quality or up. So 75% and up. So this is the high quality MT output that and this is the proportion in every year, and we're extrapolating, you know, and we think it's going to accelerate a little bit. However, there's, you know, Chris and MT developers in Microsoft doing a great job, but there's, and Chris mentioned that there are these catastrophic mistakes, and not just catastrophic mistakes, they're mistakes, you know, just in everything. It's not perfect. That's why we're here, right? And so, you know, for me, and I think also for many of our customers, the problem with MT is just this volatility and this unexpected this kind of you just never know when that mistake is going to come up, because you could have great translation and then the next segment is terrible translation, and completely without warning, you know, it could happen. And so we're always nervous about using MT, right? When we want to present or provide enterprise grade quality to our customers. And so what we're doing, because we're nervous about, you know, that potential mistake that may come up, we just post-edit everything. This is the current, we see that in the industry, we see it in the data, that at least traditionally or up to, you know, very recently, the method of post-editing, let's just post-edit everything, because you just, you know, but that's not sustainable. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not economical. And I think we will need a much more fine-grained approach to this going forward. And AI can help us here. And so there's going to be a lot of things we'll need to deploy, various tools, AI-powered tools, and we'll also need an automated quality, you know, a whole different automated quality checks. Additional to what we have, to what we're using today. And we also, what's very useful is machine translation quality estimation. So to have an estimate of the quality of the machine translation output that Microsoft or you know, Google or Amazon or anyone is sending your way. And so, you know, that can help you a lot in your workflow. For instance, you could decide, okay, we have limited budget, and with the customer, we agreed, we're going to deploy this post-editing budget only on the worst machine translation output, the lowest quality level, not on the 75% plus, because 75% plus means it's, you know, it's probably not wrong. It's just, you know, not perfect. And so what it looks like, you know, probably today you see this, there's MT, you need to post-edit it. This is, as we know it, you know, this is in the translation grid. And with MTQE, you see something like this. You know, you see scores. And maybe the 100% you can, you know, if that's the kind of right content, you can already confirm it. So we have, I think, 2 minutes left. So let me go quickly through the rest of the slides. There are some objections. So we actually launched MTQE 2 years ago. So it's a hard problem. You're trying to fix an AI problem, or a problem created through AI technology by another, throwing more AI technology on it. But it's working. You know, I think that it's the right way, we need to figure it out. We need to get this right. So it's the biggest question that we hear, you know, how accurate is it? You know, it's not always accurate, obviously, because it's just like MT, it's not perfect, right? Just like, you know, humans are not perfect either. So so here's how the kind of where we are. So when we take the perfect MT quality, which is 100%, which is, you know, perfect is the wrong word. I would say it's good, or it's just 100% quality. It should be, you know, the goal that this is, you know, we think this, you don't need to post edit it. This is the score. The indications probably you don't need to post edit this under certain circumstances. Maybe sometimes you will have to do that anyway. And so in out of 100 cases, in 29 cases, actually you need to post edit the 100% quality, the MT output with 100% quality score. You know, it sounds terrible, but actually when you put it into context, and when we're looking at translation memory matches that actually someone looked at, and also we're looking at the machine translation output, that had 100% quality score that someone looked at actually. So also translation memory, 100% matches in our data, 22% needs to be post-edited. Actually, in this respect, when you look at this, it's probably not that bad. And it's still work in progress, right? We're going to improve this. This is I don't know if this is going to improve, but this is going to improve. So at least we're not that far from this benchmark. Obviously, a lot of 100% matches are just kind of confirmed. Nobody ever looks at them, and you don't know if there's a problem or not. So these are not included here. We're only including the data that actually someone looked at, segments that someone looked at, and we can, so that we're comparing apples to apples. So I think not too bad actually. I think we're on the right track. And interestingly, there's another AI-powered feature. This was our first AI-powered feature that we launched back in 2017, and it's the identification of non-translatable segments. And here, this is the last slide, but you can see this is also an AI-powered feature, and that beats everything. So out of 100 cases, only in even 11 cases you need to fix that target segment there and post-edit it. So that's it for me, and I think we have some time for QA.
Thank you so much, Chris and David. MT is always a latest challenge that we all trying to absorb and trying to work with. And let me share my screen. There are actually a few questions that I would like to share, and the question that I'm sure that other attendees would like to know as well. The first question, what are the concrete example when using raw MT without human review would be acceptable? Chris already answered the question right here, but Chris, do you have any other example, or this is something that you can give to the audiences?
Well, you can use various techniques. Some of them David just explained to make a guess of whether a piece of content will have been translated well with MT or not. For instance, there are certain types of content that just translate very well with MT. There's like technical manuals, right? Simple sentences, non-flowery languages. That class of documents translates very well with MT. So you can dare publishing that raw. I would always recommend to have a feedback mechanism in place for the users to react to it. Or to just count the user behavior or observe the user behavior. How many times has this document been viewed? If it's less than 10 per month, probably it wasn't worth isn't worth to spend your money on human translation. You can spend that money better somewhere else.
Makes sense. Thank you so much. Thank you. The second question: has MT replaced TM as a translator tool? Probably not, right? Would you say, Chris or David?
Yeah, so probably not. I think so it's an interesting discussion. At what point will TM become useless? But I think it's actually with MT becoming more important. TM it is useful. I think it's just useful in a lot of ways. We don't see decreased usage, and we see more like the need to integrate better TM and MT. For instance, when you want to train a customized MT engine, you want to be able to just hit some button and maybe not even have a completely automated process of training your MT with your newest TM data that is nicely cleaned and formatted in a way that is acceptable to Microsoft Custom Translator.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. The next question is to Chris. How do you move the needle past those 20 languages combination that MT works well for? How can industry support and contribute to this? You have the answer right here, but anything you want to elaborate, or this is good enough?
I think this is good enough. I sometimes tell an anecdote. When I started in this job, some localization managers at Microsoft said, "Hey, your MT is great. Like all the languages that I don't really care about, I just do MT, and I just translate everything. I spend all my translation dollars onto in French, German, Spanish, Japanese, and Chinese." And I said, no, do it the other way around. Stop, stop spending money on these languages and translate into languages where we don't have enough training material available.
Great.
It's all a matter of previously done translations. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The next question is to David. What percentage of MT is driven by the big enterprise accounts in Memsource versus adoption by the multitude of smaller accounts?
Yeah, so I think you may actually find out that adopting MT for a smaller customer or organization is easier than for a very large enterprise organization, because when you sign up for a tool like Memsource and other tools or too, and you will often have MT already available, and it's going to be there, so you're going to just start using it. And I think for an enterprise customer, that if they're not using MT, that's going to be a major project, obviously. So it may take some time. But in the end, I don't think it's so much about the size. It's about the innovation, and you can be very small and you can start using MT right away. So that's, I think, important in a very efficient way. So yeah, there's definitely opportunity for everyone.
Perfect. In about 10 seconds, could you sort of mention about what is the adoption rate for MTQE?
Yeah, so it's less than 50% of our customer base, and we want to obviously bring it up, and I think it will go up. So it's gonna, I think we may be around 20% today.
Thank you. But the next question is, how long does it take, and what content resources are needed to onboard a new language pair? Is
it for Chris or for
either one? You guys can answer.
For Memsource, it's very easy. It's very simple, relatively simple. Obviously, for the MT for the AI-powered features, it probably takes some time and some more effort. But for the TMS itself, it's relatively easy.
Okay. Right. Cool. The next one is what parameter does MTQE use to evaluate if the segment is okay? If you can spend like 20 seconds, minutes, because I would like to answer most of the questions.
Sure.
Awesome.
Look, it's the edit distance. That's the only that's the parameter we're looking at. So it's the edit distance. This is how the deep neural network on through which MTQ is powered. That's how it is trained, through the edit distance.
Okay, thank you. For engine customization, what impacts the MT output quality have you seen so far?
Customers who customize the engine achieve an average of 10 blue points improvement. You can equate that to about a 10% improvement in quality. That's the average. It works. There's a more drastic effect for what I would call a small domain, say a limited set of terminology and style. The larger you make it, the lower the degree of improvement. So you start with 20,000 sentences is a good start, right? You will see an effect of customization if you have 20,000 sentences, and that probably doesn't give you 10 blue points, but it gives you some improvement. You can get 10 blue points probably with between 50 and 100,000 sentences.
Okay. We only have one question left remaining for the time we have. In quick. For your opinion, what is the importance of consistency TB in TN output, in MT output? Sorry.
Customers do care about it a lot. They want to see their terminology, and that's where customization comes in, right? If they use a stock MT engine, they get a mix of terminology, whatever the engine thought fits best in this particular sentence. But the company or organization has their standards and want to see them applied.
Thank you so much. For other questions, I will post on the chat, and hopefully that our speaker can be able to answer them. I just say thank you so much for Chris and David's, MT topics and the presentation. That's awesome. All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you. All right.